I'm not mistaken, this is called Dingle Terrace. And just at the other side of this is Park Bridge itself. Just want to confirm that this is Dingle. And if it is, I've done for this section. And there's the sign to confirm. Dingle Terrace. Well, I just got lost, which is not totally out of character for me. I've just been up this hill here, and it's a big hill, I'll tell you. I wasted about 25-30 minutes. I did go past this before. I thought I was going to get it on the way down, but apparently I'm on the wrong route. So I think this was originally the canal that maybe brought stuff into Park Bridge. I don't know whether there was originally a loading bay there or not, but that's obviously a modern one. And just past here there's an interesting building as well. It's just coming into sight now. It could have been something like a pumping house or something, boiler room, I'm not sure. There's a wonderful arch window there, look. Massive thick walls there. See how thick they are, those walls? And look at the sizes of the stone. Eh? Comparison to my hand, if you can see it. There's some weight in that, I'll tell you. That was a beautiful building in its day. If anybody knows what it is, please leave me a message below. I'd like to know exactly what that building was. Anyway, we move on, try and find the right path. Well, it gives me great pleasure to introduce a friend of mine here. This is Lee Woods. We met in 2021 when we went on a community walk which went from Oldham Ashton Road Station down to Park Bridge Station. And we got talking, and he's agreed to collaborate with me on this project. So I'm very pleased to welcome him. He's a local historian and he's got a lot of knowledge. He does his research first, unlike me. I go into everything blind. So I'm very, very pleased to have Lee on board. Thanks for joining us, Lee.
Now, Dave has invited me to participate in this video, which is a big honour actually. I'm a big fan of Dave's videos. I enjoy his stuff, I enjoy the videos he puts out. So when he asked me to participate in this video, I was delighted. So I'm really excited about this actually. So what we're going to do today, we'll take a look at the site of the station at Park Bridge. But what I also want to do, I want to look at the viaduct. Now this is a tremendous structure that stemmed the Medlock Valley, or bridged the Medlock Valley, and connecting the Oldham side to the Ashton side. That was a magnificent structure with 10 arches, and it was, as Dave said, it was completed in August 1861. Now the viaduct stood for 110 years. It was in service from 1861 up until the closure of the OA&GBR3 in 1968. It stood derelict for a further 3 years before it was eventually demolished in 1971. So in total, the structure stood for 110 years. Now today, obviously, it's gone, but if you look closely enough, we will find some clues and some remnants of this once magnificent structure. So let's chat for me. Let's have a look and let's see what we can find.
This was Industrial Park Bridge. As you can see, it shows all the important factories and buildings. This was the Bright Shop over here. This is the line that goes to Ashton. This was the station house, and above this was the Bottom Forge. This was Leesy's cotton mill here, and there were stables there that are still extant. And then we got Dean House, Coach House and Dean Terrace up here. Dingle Terrace, where I initially thought the viaduct was closer than that, but it's over here obviously. So from Dingle Terrace we would have to go down this way to get to the viaduct. And this is the line going off to Oldham over here, and this was the roller shop. So as you can see, it was quite a hive of activity back in the day there. As you can see from this view, the viaduct was quite a structure. This is 67417 going from Guy Bridge to Oldham Clegg Street in 1959. Now the following year the viaduct was refurbished. It was anticipated that was going to be heavy parcels traffic coming from the Oldham new depot that they got there. It never materialised. There was about half a dozen trains using the line on this route, but by 1967 it was found to be that it was more of a luxury, and unfortunately in 1970 it closed and the track was taken up. The following spring was when the viaduct was demolished. It's a shame. There was over 100 years of history on this line. Here's another view of the viaduct. This view shows a locomotive at the Oldham end heading towards Clegg Street.
Okay, so this is the ironworks. Obviously these chimney remnants are all that remain now, but the viaduct will have stretched right up here and bridged the Medlock River right here and went to the other side over there. Now obviously we can't see very well today because of the tree cover, but there are remnants of those arches. And again, if we walk down towards the river, we'll see yet more remnants of those stone arches. As I say, there was 10 arches in total. There's another arch remnant here somewhere. Well, there's a piece there, large piece of stone. And then as we get over here towards the bridge, look at that, right in front of us. That was the full width of the viaduct here at Park Bridge, and obviously there's a double track on there. So that's just, what, 6 foot, 6.5, 7 foot maybe, and that's pretty much all that remains in terms of a solid structure. Aside from there, we have remnants of the pillar underneath the bridge. So there's one, and there's two. Now other than that, there's nothing else substantial that remains, although right up there on the embankments there is some remnants. So I'm going to switch off for now, make my way up there, and we'll switch back on in a moment.
This is a distant view of the viaduct that went over the Medlock Valley. This is a very old view of a locomotive venturing over the viaduct. Another interesting view, just shows you the massiveness of it all. This great vantage point shows a whole viaduct. You can see Leesy's cotton mill at the bottom in the centre there, and if you notice that there's no lines on the viaduct, so obviously this was taken somewhere around the time when it had been closed down and it was due for demolition. Here you can see the viaduct, and that's the mill just to the right of the picture there.
So yeah, there we go. That's a little bit about the viaduct. It's a shame really, because that would have been a fabulous link from Oldham to Ashton as part of the Metrolink. But of course it wasn't to be. So anyway, let's make our way towards Park Bridge Station and see what we can find there. Occasionally you will find there's another one. You will find things while scratching around. So I've just been walking up the embankment, which is on the subway tunnel here. I don't know whether it was obvious then on that previous shot. But look what I found. It's a ginger ale bottle, I think. Swaddling coats. Bosworth and G. Gressley and Swaddling coat. There's a bottle there. There's not just one bottle. There's 2 bottles. Oh, the bottom broke off that one. 3 bottles. and two are broken. But I think I'll take that one with me. Little souvenir. Now, I've actually found a couple of these before. It's not the first time I've found one. So I imagine that the railway workers must have been, you know, on the way down to Swaddling Coast and brought a case of this back and probably sat on the embankment there with the colleagues on a nice warm summer evening like this, having a couple of bottles of ginger beer. It's great, isn't it? Anyway, let's plod on.
Here's an old plan of Park Bridge Station. If you look closely, you can see the sidings that come off to go to the ironworks, and if you look here, this is the coal mine that was actually underneath the station and the platform, so it wasn't built on very good ground in the initial stages, was it? If you see here, there is some paling. Now what paling is, that's the fencing that they used. It was called paling, and it's quite an interesting thing, this one, because it shows you where the signal box was here, and this was the line going off to the side. So the two platforms, one here, one over this side here as well, and then this went off towards Guy Bridge down this way. It even shows a line of the old fence as well, and some of that still remains, as you can see in the videos. This is a view of Lees's Mill, a very large employer in Park Bridge at the time. I think it's very interesting to note that Park Bridge Ironworks had two of their own locos, two industrial locos. They were Bear Peacock saddle tanks. One was called Orion and the other was called Pegasus. Now there's a very strange tale here. When I was a boy, we used to come from the Oldham end and we used to go through Snipe Clough, and there was a tunnel that went through. It used to be called Sally's Hole, and we used to go through Sally's Hole and we used to come out at the ironworks. And one day one of these locomotives was there, and one of my colleagues got on and somehow found out how to release the handbrake, and it started to roll away. Now I wasn't responsible for it, but I did feel guilty, and I ran off and back through Sally's Hole and back home. So it's very interesting to note that they had their own two locomotives though. This bread van from Stockport is arriving at Park Bridge Station. There's a little bit of an anomaly there, you may have noticed. If you look at the running in board for Park Bridge, it's in one word, but on the signal box, Park Bridge is in two words. So there's no explanation why. I like the little hut there. That's very significant in our exploration. This all too revealing photo was taken in 1959. It shows the very dilapidated state of Park Bridge Station. You can see that the boards are hanging off the walls there, and the train that was coming in was a one carriager, and it was actually more than sufficient to carry the meagre amount of passengers that they were carrying at that time. So unfortunately it was inevitable that the line was going to close at some stage. This is an all too revealing view of Park Bridge Station as well. It's very depressing because this was taken on the last day, the final day of the passenger service. This was on the 2nd of May 1959, and this train was being pulled by an old faithful on the line. It was a C13 67417, which carried many of those carriages along these lines throughout its life. This is making its way to Guy Bridge. It came from Clegg Street, and this was on the last day of service. Now if you look closely enough, just down to the left there, it's quite significant. You can see the subsidence on the platform edge. This was caused by all the mining work that was going on in the area. This is a very panoramic view. It's a view of the viaduct in the distance, and if you look across where the locomotive is here, this is where Lee was. It was taken when he was going down the embankment at the Park Bridge station end. Now, what is important to notice on this is this little hole here. Can you see this hole here? It's very small. I'll zoom in on a moment. This was the station, these are platforms, these are station buildings, but there was a subway there, and I'm just going to zoom in a little bit on this, and if you look closely enough you can just make it out here. There's an archway and it's got stonework around it, so that subway was from the up platform to the down platform. And we'll go into a little bit more detail about that in a moment.
It really is staggering, you know. I've been researching this line for a number of years, and it took me an awful long time to find evidence of this subway, because there wasn't a lot written about it. People that I asked couldn't remember a subway being present, but it was there. The old photos are quite grainy, so it was really difficult trying to pinpoint it, but then we uncovered a photo of that subway, and yeah, there we go. So that's exactly where it was, right here. So here would have been a platform. There's a track bed, and the platform would have run right along here with the subway down there, and obviously it come out the other side here. So right now we would have been probably walking along the up track that took us to Oldham in that direction. That direction is Ashton-under-Lyne Bridge. So yeah, let's get on the other side, because the picture that exists that Dave's showing on the screen is actually from this side. So if we go over there we can show a real good then and now comparison. So let's get over there and have a look. Also here, there's a tremendous amount of stone. I believe this is from the original station building, because the base was built out of stone, and the rest of the structure was made of timber. So yeah, let's get down this embankment. Wasn't the best idea to wear a t-shirt and get some scraps to high heaven. That's a daisy. Nice, let's get down here. There's some more pieces here. This, I imagine, would have been part of the platform structure, because it was a wooden platform here at Park Bridge Station. And here we have some quite substantial pieces of timber, very rotten now, but what a beautiful evening, beautiful. Okay, now here's another piece of Park Bridge Station's timber platform. Look at that, still bolted together after all these years. Obviously it's seen better days, but yeah, there we go. So that's a piece of the original platform. Now, the reason I'm scrambling down this embankment is to show you this. It's not a lot of people know that Park Bridge Station actually had a subway, and this is one of the pillars from the subway.
Here's a view of the station from the Oldham end. If you look just to the right in the middle, that is the subway. That is the covering for the subway. And I'll show you in a little bit more detail in the next little photograph. This is a zoomed in photo, just showing you exactly where the subway covering is. So I don't know whether that's glazed or not. It looks like it's glazed. It looks like a wooden structure that is glazed, and I guess it's to give protection when you come out of the subway.
And that right there is one of the small pillars on the outside of the structure. Now it would have arched around here. Obviously to the side there would have been a stone pillar on the other side. Now unfortunately the stone pillar on the other side is not visible, presumably buried beneath all this tree fall and soil and ballast. There's an awful lot of ballast here, look. Still visible. Push down the embankments. Oh, it's quite a lot actually. Plus, as we meander through, The other stone pillar would be down there somewhere. Unfortunately it's not visible. But this is visible. Is this? Oops, it is. Well, that there would run down here, around, and the stone pillar would be here somewhere. Then it would have arched over. It's over here, and then back down that side to meet that pillar. So below all this is a stone subway, and there is a part of it.
Here's a fantastic view that shows the construction of the subway. You can see those massive timber supporting things that go up, and they actually support the platform above. But if you look at the stonework, there's some fantastic craftsmanship in that. They've got that wonderful arched hole that you've got going through the centre of it, and then you've got these beautiful arched buttresses that go around to support all the embankments that are stopping it falling into the subway itself. It's a remarkable piece of construction. This is Old-Lane now, and you can see there the steps up to the original station at Park Bridge. That would have been an absolute hive of industry in the day, because just over here is all the works that they used to come to. If you look down in the distance there, you can see probably a warehouse entrance. There's an arched thing there where engines or some locomotives would have passed through, or there could have even been the industrial engines. This was a bottom forge here, the remains of the bottom forge, and the top forge was up over on top of this somewhere. So that is the area where Park Bridge Station was, and just over here we have Station House. Station House was where the station master lived, so it's now a private residence obviously. And I don't know how it's changed over the years, but quite an interesting building, I would imagine. Must have seen some life in its time.